The Pacific, an space of hammered pewter, held its secrets 3 miles down.
The Deepwater Resolute was built for the impossible. Its cranes could lift 40 tons from the crushing, lightless deep. Operations Chief Marcus Webb watched his team. They had held position for 16 hours, waiting for the moment to begin.
The crew approached. Rafe Okonkwo, pilot. Yuki Sato, systems. James Cartwright, recovery. Masters of the deep.
The crane lowered them to the waterline. The ocean accepted the vessel into its realm.
Cables fell away. Now, they were on their own. Buoyancy tanks flooded with calculated precision.
The descent began. A slow fall into increasing pressure and fading light pulled toward the abyssal plain. They entered the permanent night. Here, life created its own light, brief, ghostly flashes in the endless void. At 5,000 feet, pressure exceeded 300 times that of the surface. The hull groaned, compressing under the immense load.
They reached the abyssal zone, a freezing, lightless desert where the seafloor snow fell for millennia.
The bottom appeared on sonar, not as a sharp line, but as a landscape slowly emerging from static.
Okonkwo arrested their descent. They hovered above an alien plane, the first light to touch it in ages.
They followed the trail like archaeologists. Each piece marked a moment in the ship's final, breaking fall. And there it was, the container, upright like a tombstone, preserved in the deep freeze of the abyss. James Cartwright activated the manipulator arms. His hands would now work 3 miles above their true location. The first task, clear the sediment. A cloud of ancient silt bloomed, hiding the container from view. The pressure fought every movement. A sling slipped, was retrieved, and the work began again. After an hour, the slings were set. From the world above, the recovery cable descended, their lifeline home.
The final connection. Metal clicked against metal in the silence, a sound of promise traveling through the deep.
On the surface, the winch engaged. The cable became a bar of tension, singing with strain. And it broke free. A cloud of primordial silt erupted, marking the end of a 47-year rest.
The ascent began. The container.
They rose through the zones they had fallen through hours before. But now, they carried a prize from the deep.
Triton VII broke into the air, returning from a world of pressure to one of light.
Steady now, bring her down slow.
Securing the starboard umbilical. Connection locked.
Okay, hold position, let's watch the water.
Then, the container itself emerged. Water sheeting from its sides, it returned from the abyss.
The crane settled $345 million onto the deck with a resonant, final boom. It rested there, a relic from another time, surrounded by the people who had refused to let it stay lost.
Marcus Webb approached with cutters. The door was sealed by time and corrosion. It would not open gently.
With crowbars, they pried the door away. It fell, revealing only the darkness within.
Webb pulled the first case into the light. The latches, designed for this, opened with a click. Inside, nestled in foam, lay 12 timepieces. Silt-covered, but whole.
He carried the first watch to the cleaning station. The water clouded with the dust of the deep.
With gentle brushes and cloth, he cleared away time itself. The metal beneath had survived.
And then it caught the sunlight. A Rolex Daytona, born in a Swiss workshop, preserved in the abyss.
He set the first watch on the table, a point of light on the cloth. Then he went back for more.
They worked through the afternoon, case after case, watch after watch, each one a small miracle of survival.
As the sun began to set, the table held a growing army of silent, gleaming timekeepers. The crew gathered. No one spoke. Words would have diminished what lay before them and what they had done.
They had gone into the deep places and returned with treasure. Not just metal, but proof that what is lost can be found.
"312 stories. Their value was in gold and steel, but their meaning was in the journey back."
Claire Tanaka looked from the treasure to the sea. The ocean had given up a secret. It would keep countless others.
James Cartwright flexed his hands. For hours, they had been his eyes and touch 3 miles below.
As the sun died, the sky painted itself in triumphant colors.
The documentation began. Each piece would be cataloged, its survival officially recorded for history and insurance. Webb examined a GMT master. The serial number, etched decades ago, was the final proof of provenance.
This number matched a line in a decaying ledger, a link across half a century of loss. The container stood empty. Its purpose, after 47 years, was finally fulfilled. Night fell properly. The ship became a constellation of human industry on the ancient, dark sea.
In the mess, the crew ate in quiet reflection. The adrenaline had passed, leaving a profound and weary satisfaction. Under guard and glass, the watches rested. Moonlight and steel, a communion of celestial and crafted time. The sky turned. The ship held its position, a temporary island in the fluid expanse of the Pacific. Dawn approached, a slow bleach of gray on the horizon. The ocean was peaceful, holding no grudge for the theft. With the dawn, Webb and Tanaka returned to the deck. The watches looked different in the clean morning light.
The sling placement was textbook.
Cartwright's hands were steady as a surgeon's.
The ship came awake, and every crew member's first glance was toward the aft deck to see if it was real.
We need to examine the minute flexing here after the last pressure cycle.
Understood. We've accounted for it in the preparation for the next dive.
Yuki Sato analyzed the data. Every dive was a lesson. Her mind was already optimizing for the next unknown wreck. The packing began. Each watch was sealed in its own cocoon for a journey to auction houses and collectors. 312 cases into one secure container. The value was now concentrated, a vault on the deck. The security detail arrived by helicopter. The handover was a dance of paperwork and silent, armed vigilance. The helicopter banked away, carrying the past into the future. Their part of the story was over.
The crew watched it go. A strange emptiness followed. The focus, the tension, the purpose, gone with the sound of rotors.
Webb thanked them, not as a crew, but as individuals. The winch operator, the cook, the electrician, all were vital.
And then he realized it was just the replicator malfunctioning again.
That explains the sudden craving for Earl Grey. He does that every Tuesday.
The Deepwater Resolute got underway. It left the patch of ocean that had been its entire... The moon pool was just a hole in the ship again. The gateway to the deep was closed. Rafe Okonkwo sat with the submersible. They would rest together, then descend together again into another darkness. The rhythm of the ship resumed. Resupply, maintenance, planning. The cycle of search and recovery was endless. Another sunset found them. The glory of the previous day was a memory, folded into the routine of the sea. James Cartwright watched the bioluminescent wake. His hands, so precise and vital, were just hands again. From space, the ship was invisible. The ocean showed no scar from their operation. It kept its secrets well. Months later, in a climate-controlled room, a watch from the abyss awaited its new owner.
The gavel fell. The Daytona had a new purpose: to be worn, admired, to measure time once more.
Marcus Webb stood at the rail. The ocean hadn't changed, but he had navigated a piece of its hidden history.
Yuki Sato's mind never stopped engineering. The challenges of the next dive were puzzles to be solved over breakfast.
The cleanup was a ritual, erasing the physical evidence of the dive, preparing the ship for its next identity. The mission's magic faded into the mundane chatter of radio traffic and supply runs.
Rendezvous coordinates confirmed.
They docked in a world of noise and grime. The clean, vast silence of the deep was a memory.
In a port office, Webb heard the recovery translated into profit margins. He preferred the language of depth and pressure.
James Cartwright found precision everywhere. In a coffee shop, he admired the machinery, the repeatable process. The crew scattered on leave, but part of them remained on the ship, in the rhythm of the sea, waiting to reconvene.
Did you really go to the bottom?
Did you really go to the bottom? Yes, we did.
We did.
The world briefly noted their achievement as a financial curiosity, a footnote on the business channels.
The next brief began. A new blip on the sonar. A new mystery in the dark. The cycle renewed.
Okonkwo's hands moved over the controls. This was his true office, his cathedral of switches and screens.
Cartwright, a light-skinned Caucasian man in his late 30s, put the arms through their paces. He needed to know their moods. The new target was unclear, a ghost in the data. That was the point, to go and see. Marcus Webb made his rounds. His confidence was not in hope,
but in the checked boxes, the tested systems, the trained crew.
They sailed into the night, a speck of light and purpose on the ancient, patient sea.
On the seafloor, the crater slowly faded. The ocean began the process of forgetting, of smoothing over the disturbance.
They arrived at the new coordinates. The dance of thrusters began again, holding them steady above another mystery.
The crew suited up. Different mission, same ritual. The mundane acts that preceded every plunge into the extraordinary.
Descent was familiar. The zones of light and pressure were constants. But the destination was a new page in a blank book.
Inside the sphere, 3 minds focused into a single purpose.
The sonar image clarified. It was a wreck, older, more decomposed than the Empress. History waited in a different form.
The deep offered new wonders with each visit. A brief greeting from the permanent residents of the dark.
The lights found the bottom, and they found their target. Another story, waiting to be read in rust and silence.
It was not a container of watches. It was a Spanish galleon, a vessel from the age of sail.
No words were needed. The find changed everything. The value was historical, not purely monetary. The challenge was even greater.
The manipulator arm reached out, a gentle touch across centuries. It brushed away the silt of ages. It revealed a coin, stamped with a cross and castles, a piece of an empire that had vanished from the world above. The cutting edge of engineering hovered above a relic of wind and wood. Time collapsed in the beam of their lights.
The message sent to the surface was not ready to lift. It was, stand by.
Webb received the update. He smiled, a rare, full smile. Thus was why they say—
Copy that, Triton. Take your time. Document everything.
The lights revealed more. Each object, a sentence, a word in a story they were just beginning to decipher. They began their ascent, not with a heavy treasure, but with a heavier responsibility. They were messengers from the past.
The ascent felt different. They carried proof of a different kind of time. Not stopped watches, but the currency of a dead empire.
They surfaced into the artificial night of the ship's lights. The crew's faces held questions, not just relief. The coin moved among them, a tangible piece of history, pried from the deep's cold grasp. It was worth more than gold. The video played. A ghost ship materialized in pixelated form. Archaeologists would study this footage for years.
We had a code historical. Galleon, 17th century, likely Spanish.
Webble's call changed everything.
They planned not a salvage, but a preservation. How to document, how to protect the site from looters, how to bring in the experts.
Dawn found them on guard. Their purpose was no longer to take, but to protect. A more subtle, noble challenge.
James Cartwright re-engineered his tools. For delicate history, you needed a surgeon's touch, not a salvage grip.
The experts arrived. They stepped onto the deck not as bosses, but as grateful guests, their eyes wide with anticipation.
The archaeologist held the coin. This changes the known shipping lanes for 1682, she whispered.
The language of deep-sea engineering met the language of history. They found common ground in precision and respect.
The first official recovery was not silver or gold. It was a simple jug. To history, it was a...
The jug rested in its temporary bath. It had held water 400 years ago. Now, it was cradled by it again.
They documented every splinter, every stone, creating a record so complete, the wreck could be studied for...
On the surface, barriers dissolved. The deep-sea crew and the historians found they spoke the same language of curiosity.
You gave us more than a wreck. You gave us a chapter.
It was there. We just turned on the light.
The bottom line shifted. The value of knowledge, of prestige, outweighed immediate profit. The ship had a new, noble purpose.
New tools arrived. The heavy machinery of salvage made way for the delicate instruments of preservation.
Rafe Okonkwo found a new joy. Piloting the small ROV was like being a ghost, walking the decks of the past without disturbing a grain of sand.
Then, the ultimate find. Not treasure, but story. The ship's log, or perhaps...
The plan that formed was the most complex of all. Not to lift treasure, but to lift words. To rescue voices from the silence.
The ship's workshop became an engineering lab for history. Their skill now served a story, not a spreadsheet.
The capsule rose. Inside, time stood still, preserving the chance to hear a voice from the age of sail.
The handover was swift. The capsule began its journey to a sterile lab, where scientists would perform the delicate magic of resurrection.
The ship found its new identity. Not a hunter, but a guardian. A platform for unlocking the past, not just profiting from it.
Two recoveries. One of value, one of meaning. The crew had learned the difference, and in learning...
The ship sailed on. The ocean kept its secrets, but now it gave up some of its stories.
The horizon offers no mercy, she read. We are in God's hands now.
The most significant maritime find of the decade.
Spirit form.
Claire Tanaka became a voice in a new conversation about how we interact with the deep past.
Rafe Okonkwo returned to the work of salvage. But the memory of the galleon was a quiet compass, a reminder of depth beyond pressure.